Yes, Mr.
The court, please, my lord, we apologize for the delay in commencing with the proceedings this morning. Accused number 3 and 5 had to commission certain affidavits for the purpose of the application that they are bringing relating to their incarceration.
Yes, yes.
The state calls the next witness, Brigadier Bongani Nicholas Gininda.
You remain under oath, sir?
Yes, my lord.
Yes.
Brigadier, you are in the employ of the South African Police and attached to the court case unit.
That is correct, my lord.
Wasenza lesiphoyisa and ungaphansi kwaleqembu elisenza eNkantolo Yebo.
You've already testified in the trial within a trial in this matter. Is that correct?
Yes, my lord, that's true.
Athi uliqiniso ukuthi ungufakazi trial within a trial.
And that can be seen from the record of the proceedings dated 27 November 2023, commencing on page 34 thereof.
Yes, my lord, that's correct.
Yebo kuyabonakala ukuthi kwenzeka lokho ngomhla 27 kuNovember 2023.
Your rank also appears on the record of the 27th of November 2023 on page 39 thereof, lines
yavela umhla 27 kuNovember 2023.
Correct, my lord.
lines
Yebo kunjalo.
lines 9 to 10.
That is correct, my lord.
Do you confirm the evidence that you gave in the trial within a trial?
I do confirm it, my lord.
Athi ngiyakuqinisekisa ubufakazi engabuletha ku-trial within a trial usho ukuthi icala lingaphakathi kwelinye.
Your career history appears on the record that we've referred to from page 39 onwards. Is that correct?
Yes, it is correct, my lord.
Athi yebo kunjalo.
And in particular pages 40 and 42 of the record. This is where your career history is set out.
Correct, my lord.
Athi umlando webizelo lakho uyabonakala lapho.
On page 42 of the record, the mandate of the cold case unit is set out. Is that correct?
That is correct, my lord.
Athi kuyabonakala umsebenzi we-call case unit ubekiwe nawo.
And on page 43 of the record, you deal with the date on which the current docket was allocated to your team.
That is correct, my lord.
Kubekiwe futhi nosuku lapho owanikwa khona i-docket.
And just for the record, can you once again repeat as to how many members does your unit consist of?
So, insofar as this matter, my lord, we are three, the investigators. That is myself, Sergeant Mokola, the female Sergeant Mokola, and Sergeant Mohane, currently.
Okwamanje ke sibathathu kusikuleli thimba eliphenya leli cala mina Sergeant Mokola ongowesifazane no Sergeant Mohane.
Now, on page 43 of the record, lines 5 to 6, you mention the date on which this matter was allocated to you. Is that correct?
That is correct, which is the 12th of November 2018, my lord.
Kubekiwe lapha ku page 43 ukuthi ngathola nganikezela ngaleli cala ngomhla 12 November 2018.
And just for the record, can you just mention the case number of the matter that the court is seized with?
So, yes, my lord, it's Phosphorus 636 of 10/2014.
Leli cala ke icala ithiwa uPhosphorus 636 of 10 of 2014.
Another docket has been mentioned in these proceedings that ran parallel to the main case. Is that correct?
Yes, I've heard about it, my lord. That will be Phosphorus 375 of 1/2019.
Tikhona ke leli cala lijobelele kulelo Phosphorus 375 of 1 of 2019.
But in that aspect, my lord, maybe one should put it into context that that case 375, it's not a murder docket. It's a defeating docket that was opened by Warrant Officer Makubo as the complainant. The only murder docket of the deceased, that is Senzo Meyiwa, it's this matter that is before court. There is no other murder docket that is registered out there.
Ngifanele ngichaze ukuthi ucase 375 of 1 of 19 akulona icala lokubulala, icala nje elikhona lokubulala ka Senzo Meyiwa, ucase 636 of 10 of 2014. Leli cala liqulwa lona manje.
You have already mentioned a name of an investigator who's associated with this other investigation, Phosphorus case 3751 of 2019. Is that the only investigator who's associated with that investigation?
No, my lord. There is also a Lieutenant Colonel Buthelezi, who is also associated with the docket 375 of 1/2019.
Adikhona futhi no Lieutenant Colonel Buthelezi or sevenza kuleli cala case 375 of 1 of 2019.
Brigadier, can you, in your own words, give a background of what happened after you were seized with this matter that is currently before court, and also at the same time deal with how the other investigation, Phosphorus case 3751 of 2019, came into existence?
Yes, my lord. So, when we were appointed, my lord, and I'll go back to November 12, 2018, Warrant Officer Makubo as well as Lieutenant Colonel Buthelezi were part of the investigation team. So I was appointed to lead the team, and then they were seconded to work under myself, together with Lieutenant Colonel Ramohala, who was part of the cold case unit. Is now since retired, my lord.
Umasuka ke leli cala mhla 12/11/2018 kukhona uWarrant Officer Makubo no Lieutenant Colonel Buthelezi ababeqoke ukusebenza kuleli cala. Mina ke ngangumholi wabo, kodwa ke kwakukhona ke futhi nomunye uRamukhale osekhotheme kodwa owayesebenza kulo leli cala.
So the cold case unit, which included myself, this Lieutenant Colonel Ramohala, Female Sergeant Mokula, Sergeant Mokhane, were basically in charge of leading this current matter, my lord.
Manje mina ke no Sergeant Ramohala no Mokula no Mokhane sasiqoke ukuthi ke siholeke ekuphengeni licala.
Yes, but in terms of the appointment, the four of us, meaning myself, Lieutenant Colonel Ramohala, Lieutenant Colonel Butelezi, and Warrant Officer Makubo, were specifically designated to look into this matter, me being the lead investigating officer on the matter.
Thina ke mina no Ramohala no Butelezi no Mokula sasicele ke nje ukuthi ke sihole uphengelo lecala mina ke ngiwumholi waleli team.
Now, my lord, after I've signed for the docket and received it, there were theories when we were briefed, maybe a theory when we were briefed in terms of receiving the docket, that there seems to be a suspicion that the shooter or the person who killed the deceased in this matter was inside the house, and it could not make sense to the management as to why the previous investigation team and the others that were there could not address that matter. In other words, deal with the people who were inside the house. So that was part of the briefing that we got to say, look into this matter. This is the information that seems to be running around, and you need now to see if you can get to the bottom of it. Of course, if it is true.
So ke kokukhona ke nombono ukuthi ke
My lord, the witness is referring to a theory of which maybe it needs to be unpacked, whether it was the investigation that revealed that evidence or it is a hearsay evidence through the investigation. Because, my lord, if the witness says after signing the docket there was a theory that a person who shot the deceased was inside the house, so the objection is on the fact that it must be cleared whether it was part of the investigation which led to that theory, or it was the hearsay, or it's the evidence they had, as the court places.
Well, I'm baffled by that objection. Well, it's already on record that there were two theories, and the witness is just merely rehashing the mandate that was given to them, and I think the objection is with respect premature. The witness will deal with all these aspects.
Why do you say it's hearsay evidence?
My lord, I was saying because I do not understand the theory, what the theory is, my lord. That's why I was saying at least if it can be unpacked, that it was as a part of the investigation or part of the evidence they had as investigating team, my lord. So that one will understand whether it amounts to a hearsay or what type of evidence, my lord.
No, but they say he says there was a report made to him on assuming command of the investigation that there are allegations, if you don't want to call it a theory, there are allegations that the person who allegedly murdered the deceased was inside the house.
The house, yes, my lord.
Is that what you're saying, sir?
That's what I'm saying, my lord.
My lord, then if it was a report that was made to him, then it has to be disclosed. It's a report by who?
Yes, sir.
So, my lord, I stand up to support the objection of my learned colleague, Advocate Msholon. Somebody must have actually made such a report. Who is that person for one to make a conclusion that this exists as a theory?
My lord, we need to look no further than the proposition that was put by Mr. Mgomezulu himself.
What did he say about the theory?
That Longway is the person who shot the deceased. Now, this is what the witness is saying, and now there's an objection.
This is examination in chief.
Yes.
This is examination in chief. This is the new evidence brought by Brigadier Kinindi in chief in the main trial.
Well, we have a lot of ground to cover. We're not going to detain ourselves with such trivialities.
Please, the court, Madam, it is not a triviality. I think the state probably used a very inaccurate term there. Because we're also concerned about the source of this report to the effect that the shooter was one of the people in the house. What is the source of that information, or who is the source of that information? That's our concern, because we cannot treat this as just a mere triviality. Can we?
Please, Lord, we will deal with that in due course. Brigadier, just perhaps for the record, there was a briefing in this matter when it was assigned to you, is that correct?
That is correct, my lord.
And for the purpose of the record, can you just mention as to who assigned the matter to you?
I received the instruction from then National Commissioner General Keta Sitole. He's the one that gave me the directive, my lord.
Isicelo sasuvela kulo wayemkhuzi wamaphoyisa ngaleso sikhathi okuGeneral Keta Sitole.
You mentioned that the other members of the team, Lieutenant Colonel Ramuhala, Sergeant Mohola, and Sergeant Mohani, came from the cold case unit. Can you just maybe explain the other members, Warrant Officer Makubo and Lieutenant Colonel Butelezi, how did they come into the picture?
Well, when I was briefed and given the mandate to take command of this investigation, my lord, I was informed that they will form part of this team. They were seconded. As to how, I don't know, but that was the indication to me, and then subsequently we met, and then we worked together for some time, but through to difference of opinions, we sort of went to different directions.
Yes.
Sergeant Ramuhala noMukhane sasisebenza nabo kulolu daba, kodwa ke uMakhubo noButelezi ngatshelwa nje ukuthi ke nabo ke bazongena kulolu daba bazosenza nathi ukuthi beza kanjani angizange ngichazele.
Did you know from which units of the police they came from?
Yes, Warrant Officer Makubo was from the DPCI, I think in Germiston. Lieutenant Colonel Butelezi, she was a captain then. She's from the psychologist unit, I think FSL in Pretoria.
Makubo yena wayephuma DPCI Germiston, uButelezi wayekapteni ku psychology unit eSepito.
What happened then after the matter was assigned to the team that you led?
Yes, so the first directive that I gave, my lord, is that copies of the docket must be made for each member of the team. That was done, my lord. The purpose thereof was, which was part of my directive, was so that each and every member of the team can analyze, can read the docket and make sense as to whether, what happened based on the preliminary evidence. Based on the preliminary statements and evidence that was collected. Can we say they were perpetrators, and who are they, if the docket indicates such? And if there are no perpetrators, what evidence do we have? As I said, we were sitting with the primary thing of establishing whether they were intruders, and if they were intruders, who are they, which was the purpose of dealing with this matter. And in the absence of the intruders, based on the evidence, who were then the perpetrators of this murder of the deceased, my lord?
Inhloso yokuthi kwenziwe amakhophi ale docket kwakwenzela ukuthi wonke umuntu okhona lapha kuleli thimba lami akwazi ukubheka ahlaziye ukuthi kwakungabeke kuwobani abenza lento uma kungekho bantu esibatholayo sibheke ukuthi ubufakazi obukhona okunjani singabuthola uma kungekho sibheke ukuthi obani-ke ababengene lapho behlasela noma kungekho-ke lokho siqhubeke nokuphenya.
Now, my lord, after on a specific time where now we obviously had to meet and get together in terms of what we found, it was clear that the views are the same. They still believe that there were no intruders.
Njengoba-ke sesitholile lo msebenzi khona-ke okwagcina sibona ukuthi kuyafana ukuthi abekho ababehlasela.
Based on what I've analyzed, I believe there were intruders, my lord.
Kuloko ngangikubhekileke mina ngaqaphela ngibonile ukuthi kwabekhona abantu ababengenile.
Just a minute. Now, who held the view that there were no intruders?
Bani kwayicanga ukuthi ababengekho abantu ababehlasela.
Warrant Usamakubo and Lieutenant Colonel Buthelezi were of that view, my lord.
Ababe nalo mqondo Warrant Officer Makubo no Captain Buthelezi.
And I must also admit, my lord, before actually reading the docket thoroughly, I also believed at some stage when we were briefed, say there were no intruders. But obviously when one looked at the docket, the evidence told me otherwise.
Nami-ke nalo umqondo ukuthi babengekho abantu abahlasele kodwa ke uma sengibhekile ngibhekisisile idocket ngabona ukuthi kufanele kube khona ababehlasele.
And what was your initial view based on?
Well, it wasn't really based on any facts, my lord, because it was before I had an opportunity to really look at the docket except what I was hearing. But when one looked at the docket, and I will deal with what convinced me, my lord, you know, I had to look at certain facts that were contained in the docket, and those facts made me come to a conclusion that there is no other way there were intruders.
Okay, mina oqala umbono wami kwawuphuma nje ekutheni yini engangiyizwile kodwa uma sengibheka ke sengifundisisa idocket ngagcina ngibonile ukuthi egcineni kufanele kube khona abahlaseli ababekhona.
Yes, but perhaps maybe just to deal with it in a more structured way, you make copies for members of all members of the team. You ask them to go and read the evidence and analyze it. What happened thereafter?
So we would have then got together, my lord, where now these different views came up that, you know, there's the two that I've mentioned, the two members believe they were intruders, and we had a view, I had a view, together with Colonel Ramohala, that the evidence suggests that they were intruders. And it is based on that slowly then we went apart. There was no formal arrangement for the team, these other two members, to stop working with us, but they sort of, we just went different directions, my lord. And that gave rise to the opening of the docket 375 of 1/2019. I was not aware of it.
Ekuqaleni-ke njengoba sengishilo ukuthi uWarrant Officer Makubo noButhelezi babe nalo mqondo ukuthi babengekho abantu ababehlasele. Mina-ke noRamkhala sasibona ukuthi impela bakhona abantu ababekhona ababehlasele. Yilokho kwagcina kwenze ukuthi kube nokwehlukana. Yilapho-ke kwavula khona le docket u-375 mina engingenalwazi olukhulu ngayo.
I learned at a lesser stage, my lord, after this docket was opened, that it was in existence, and it was suggesting that certain people in the house were involved, or rather.
Menje-ke mina-ke ngathi gcina sengizwe kamuva ukuthi ikhona le docket ekhona ebiphenya ukuthi ngalo umhlahlandlela ukuthi kwakukhona abantu ababekhona la phakathi endlini.
Correct, yes. I also heard, my lord, that it dealt with the issue of, you know, I'm just summing up. I know that we want us to go there.
Yes, we'll get there. When was this?
Sorry, can I ask the witness to raise his voice? I can hardly hear since I'm far away from the witness.
Yeah.
Are you aware as to who opened this docket for Slaughter's 3751 of 2019?
Uyazi ukuthi ubani owavula le docket le u-Foslorus 375 of 1 of 2019?
Yes, according to the system, my lord, it's warrant officer Makubo.
Yebo, ngokuya-ke ngomshini le docket yavula u-warrant officer Makubo.
I may also add, my lord, the reason I did not have that much information, I never had sight of this docket. The only time I saw it briefly, not actually perusing it, but seeing the file, was at the DPP's office here in Pretoria on the 29th of January 2020, but seeing the file, not actually the contents, that was the first time.
Ngicela uphawula ukuthi yini indaba nginalwazi olukhulu ngale file le ukuthi nje angizange ngiyibone le file kakhulu. Into engayenza ukuthi ngiyibone kancane nje ngilunguze kwa DPP ngomhla 21st kuJanuary 2020. January 2020. Mhla 29 kuJanuary 2020.
Then the second time was when, my lord, it was ordered, I think in 22 by the court, that it must be disclosed to the defense, and obviously then it was made available to the state advocate, and we had to make copies. I think that would have been 2022 or so. That was already the first time when we were making copies. I actually had sight of it for the first time.
And uthi ngibone oqala ila kwakuthiwe khona ke ifanele ke ivezwe futhi yenzelwe ama-copy abameli ila kwenziwa kwaphoqa ukuthi ke nathi sikwazi ukuthi siyithole siyibuke.
Are you able to put a month as to when in 2022 that was, when you first had sight of the contents of this docket, 3751 of 2019?
Yes, yeah, 3751. Yeah, I think it will be after September, October, around that period, because I know that was the time the DPP and myself were given instruction to get this docket for the defense. So it was around that period, September, October 2022, my lord.
Ngicabanga ukuthi nyanga September noma October ngoba ngalesi sikhathi DPP acela khona ukuthi senze ama-copy ale document senzela abameli.
You mentioned that you first saw the docket at the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions on 29 January 2020. Can you just briefly deal with the circumstances under which you saw that docket?
Manje kungaphansi kwasiphi isimo uze ngomhla ka-29 January 2020 nikwazi ukubona le document?
Yes, so the circumstances were as follows, my lord. Subsequent to the differences that arose between us, let's say the investigators that were nominated, and I'm including Warrant Officer Makubo and Buthelezi.
Emva kokuthi ke kube nokwehlukana ngemibono phakathi kwethu no Warrant Officer Makubo.
The National Commissioner then appointed a Brigadier Perumal, to actually come and lead. And one, it was for the purpose of him making analysis on what is contained in the docket, and secondly, to lead the team now between the ACPS and the NPA, because it was not how do I put it, my lord? It was not a suitable environment between the parties that were involved, and it was overflowing to the NPA in terms of who now must brief the NPA with these different views that were now taken to them on this matter.
Emva kokuthi kuqale ukuphenya lolu daba lolu kwagcina ke sekubekwa u-National Commissioner waqoka uBrigadier Perumal ukuthi ahlazele i-docket yaleli cala nokuthi ahole uphenyo ngoba kwakunengxaki yokuthi ke phakathi kwe-NPA ne-SAPS ubani ohola uphenyo lwalolu daba ngoba kufanele kube nathi thina sifanele sikwazi ukutshela iNPA siba briefing ukuthi kwenzekani kuleli cala.
Now, Brigadier Perumal, my lord, was at that stage leading, I think, the commercial unit in the Eastern Cape. He was from the Eastern Cape.
Manje uBrigadier Perumal ngaleso sikhathi waye ngaphansi kwe-commercial unit e-Eastern Cape.
And he was assisted by then Colonel Lords, who was from the DPCI anti-corruption unit. He's now a brigadier in the Western Cape also for the anti-corruption unit.
Ngaleso sikhathi kwayehola uColonel Lords.
Colonel Lords is now a brigadier. Lords.
uColonel Lords ke manje sekuthiwa useyibrigadier.
Now, my lord, when they came on board, I was asked by them to avail the docket at the time, which I did so that they could make copies, analyze the docket, because they needed to brief the NATCOM.
Manje kuthiwa ngaleso sikhathi ke ngacelwa ukuthi ngenze amakhophi ke edocket ukuze bakwazi ukubrief iNATCOM.
I also do know, my lord, that they tried to find the other docket because when they came on board, it was after this 375 docket was already opened.
Manje ngiyazi ukuba bazama ukuthola le document ngoba ngaleso sikhathi ngiyazi ukuthi idocket ka375 leselivuliwe.
But they did not succeed.
Kodwa abazange bakwazi ukwenza lokho.
Just a minute. If you say they, who are you referring to?
I'm referring to Brigadier Perumal and Brigadier Lords.
Ngisho uBrigadier Perumal noBrigadier Lords.
But why were they unsuccessful in their efforts to obtain a copy of this docket 3751 of 2019?
Yini indaba bahlula ukuthi bathole le docket ye375?
I was informed, my lord, that they received resistance when Brigadier Perumal tried to phone the two members with an intention of getting this docket. From what he told me, there was resistance, mere resistance, and as a result, they did not succeed.
Ngaleso sikhathi ke bathola ukuthi bahlangabezana nenkinga uma bezama ukukhuluma nalamalunga amabili bethi bezama ukuthola le document.
Yes, we can just perhaps leave out of account what he told you, but the fact of the matter is they were not successful in getting a copy of CAS 3751 of 2019.
That is correct. They were not successful, my lord.
Yebo abazange bakwazi ukuphumelela ekuthubeleni le document.
Yes.
Now, they then, after analyzing the docket, my lord, they, I know that there was a meeting with the National Commissioner where they briefed him, obviously, of the challenge that I've mentioned and what they saw on this docket in terms of the view. It must also be mentioned, my lord, or noted that at that stage, we were not in sight of any of these accused. So it was just merely, what is the docket telling us? Is it telling us that they were intruders, or is it telling us that there were no intruders? So as to who were the perpetrators at that stage, we were not there. There was no clue and none whatsoever at that stage.
Ngaleso sikhathi ke bathi mabehlaziya le document beyibheka bahamba bahlangana ne-National Commissioner ukuthi bazomchazela ukuthi baboneni kule document le ngoba ngaleso sikhathi ke kwangakabi nabasolwa kodwa ke kwakuna le document phela bafanele bachaze ukuthi yini abayibonanga ngaphakathi ukuthi babe khona yini abahlaseli noma babengekho ngoba abantu ke kuthiwa ke babe ngathoswa leli cala babengabi bikho.
The report that was given, my lord, was that they were of the view that there were perpetrators who came into the house, as much as they do not know who, but the evidence suggested that there were perpetrators who came into the house.
Yes.
I'm not sure if such report has been handed over to the people.
Yes.
I'm not sure if such report has been handed over to the people.
Yes, thank you.
They share their view with you. What happened further?
Bathe ngaleso sikhathi ke nanoma babecabanga ukuthi babekhona abahlaseli ababekhona lapho nanoma ke babengakabi bikho abasolwa.
I was then, my lord, asked by them that I should introduce them now to the prosecutor from the NPA that is dealing with that matter at that stage, because it was already assigned to the North Gauteng DPP.
Ngasengicela ukuthi ngaleso sikhathi ngibahlanganiseke nomshushisi owayeshushisa lelo cala ngaleso sikhathi.
That, my lord, led me to me making arrangements with the DPP, and subsequently then that meeting of the 29th of January 2020 then took place, where Brigadier Perumal was there for the first time to meet the DPP and obviously indicate that he will be leading, from the ACPS side on the directive of the NPA, and obviously the directive or the direction that investigation will be taking.
With due respect, we're going to request the Brigadier to raise up his voice once again, because he starts well, but towards the end of his explanation, it's becoming faint. We are unable to follow everything that is saying.
My lord, I'm speaking as much as I can, so I will consider that, because...
Somebody can switch off this aircon.
Apparently they're centrally controlled.
Central, by the way.
It cannot be switched on.
I will do my best, my lord, but I'm doing the best I can.
Yes, you can continue. Perhaps if you can just move the dockets to the side and get closer to the microphone.
Is this one I'm using?
Yes,
this one?
yeah.
Yes. So then on the 29th of January, my lord, 2020, we then met the team that was assembled, or rather that was assigned from the NPA to deal with this matter.
Ngomhla 29 January 2020 ilesathu nakhona nethimba elaliqokwe ukuthi lubheke lolu daba.
The names that I recall, it was Advocate Leonard.
Oyabanye ke ngibakhumbulayo Advocate Leonard.
I think there was also Advocate Makwata.
Ngikhumbula mhlambe futhi no Advocate Makwata.
And Advocate Baloyi, that is before court.
No Advocate Baloyi ola phambi kwenkantolo.
Yes.
My lord, while the Brigadier obviously introduced himself, and the two members, I'm just not sure whether they arrived first or they found us there, but Warrant Officer Makubo and Buthelezi also arrived.
Warrant Officer Makubu and who else?
Buthelezi.
No Buthelezi nabo bafika. Ngisakhumbula ukuthi laba abanye bazethulana noma bazethulana.
And that is a day, my lord, where I said they were in possession now of this 375 docket, which obviously I saw from the distance when they were addressing the DPP.
Ila ngithi khona ngabona ke le docket 375 engithi mina ngayibona kodwa ikude.
Yes.
And it was also the first time that Brigadier Perumal, my lord, came face to face with them, obviously after facing the challenge of getting the copies of the docket.
Ilapho ke Brigadier Perumal wabonana nabo emva kokuthi athole le docket.
Yes.
The meeting, my lord, didn't really end well because the Brigadier was taking exception about the protocol that was not being followed, discipline. So it didn't end well, which ended with the two members leaving with that docket from the DPP, leaving us behind with the state advocates.
Lapho ke umhlangano zanguphele kahle ngoba uBrigadier Penman wayekhononda ukuthi ke inqubo enhle ayizange ilandelwe nokuthi ke abazange basebenze ngendlela enhle. Lapho ke laba ababili basuka behamba naleyo docket.
Yes.
Obviously, the investigations and the instructions, my lord, we then discuss when we left, with the DPP to say what is their view, what must be followed, those nitty-gritty were discussed. Obviously, after these issues were dealt with, these differences and the arguments, my lord.
Sebehambileke kwakhulunywa ngokuthi uphenyo lufanele lwenzeke kanjani-ke nokuthi-ke kufanele kulandulwe yiphi indlela yokubuka umbono omuphi nokuthi kufanele kwenzeke kanjani-ke emva kokuthi-ke kukhulunyeke nanokuthi-ke kwakuhlukanwa kanjani ngembono ngaphambili.
Yes.
Yes, I think my recollection, my lord, that's what happened on the 29th at the DPP's office.
Engikhumbulayo-ke ukuthi lokhu kuwenzeka mhla 29 ehhovisi lika DPP.
And you mentioned that you never saw the docket until in September of 2022.
That is correct, my lord.
Athi yebo angizange ngiphinde ngiyibone le docket yofika mhla September 2022.
And is it correct that at that stage the previous proceedings were underway?
That is correct, my lord.
Futhi-ke leli kwakuqula-ke kwakusaqhubeka ngaleso sikhathi.
Brigadier, if we can then come back to what you mentioned earlier on, that upon your assessment of the docket, there were certain facts that informed you that there were intruders.
Absolutely, my lord. There were those factors, but as I was looking into those factors, I must also mention that I was looking at them in relation to Longotwala, because in the midst of those allegations, Longwe's name was coming up as a possible suspect who may have shot.
Khona ukuningi engangibhekile ngaphakathi kwale docket lo, engangibhekile ukuthi-ke kwakhulunywa kakhulu ngoLongethwala ngokuthi uyena wayedubulile. Uyena wayedutshula.
Who may have shot the deceased.
Ukuthi uyena oyengaba edubule umufi.
Yes.
So one of the things that I looked at, my lord, obviously when I looked at the docket, was to establish that according to the preliminary statements which the defense has, there was a report that one of the cell phone belonging to Miss Kelly Kumalo was robbed. That was one of the allegations that was said there.
Please come again, I didn't hear you.
So in the preliminary reporting, in other words, your A1 statements, it was alleged, my lord, that during this robbery that led now to the killing of the deceased, a cell phone belonging to Miss Kelly Kumalo was taken by the intruders.
Qaleni-ke kwaphenya kwabonakala ukuthi ngesikhathi-ke kuhlaselwa lapha i-cellphone kaKelly Kumalo nayo yanto.
I was able to establish a specific number that was taken, my lord, because she had two cell phones that were disclosed according to the docket.
Mina ngakwazi ukuthola ukuthi yiphi number ngoba iy'number zombili zaziveziwe kusho ukuthi iy'number zikaKelly Kumalo.
Yes, so there was a 082 number, I think it's 703, I forgot the last four numbers, that was not taken. Then the 072 is the one that was alleged to have been taken by the perpetrators.
Kulezi number embili-ke u-082 no-072 eyayithathiwe-ke u-082.
No, 072.
U-072.
Now, my lord, I looked at the cell phone records that were already available, that were requested by the first investigation team, because after they took over the matter, they applied for Section 205, and those records of all the numbers of the people who were in the house were available on the docket.
So-ke ngabheka-ke umbiko ukhuluma ngala mafoni ngoba wonke amafoni alaba bebekhona ngaphakathi kwakucelwe imbiko ngaphansi ka section 205.
What one could establish, what I could establish, my lord, is that before the incident took place, you can place all the cell phones, including this particular one that was alleged to be taken, on that one tower. In other words, the people who were in the house, inclusive of the alleged stolen phone, was under one tower, so they were at the crime scene.
Kuthiwa ke wonke ke lamafoni ke kuyabonakala ukuthi ayebonwa itower eyodwa, kusho ukuthi wonke lamafoni ayesendaweni yobugebengu.
Now, after the shooting, the shooting incidents, the people who were in the house, my lord, moved to the hospital and they were picked up by the tower at the hospital.
Manje emva kokudutshulwa bonke abantu ababekhona lapha endaweni yobugebengu bahamba baye esibhedlela ngoba bonke amafoni abo aqhumana nale tower yasesibhedlela.
And that is in line with their statements that I was reading in the docket, my lord.
Lokho kuhambisana nezitatimende ezazikhona lapha edokethini.
However, the alleged robbed phone takes a different direction, and when they were sitting at the hospital, the tower was the robbed cell phone was picking up a different tower at Muleleki section.
Can you repeat it again?
So I'm saying, my all right. So all right. So after the shooting, my lord, or the incident had taken place, the people, the people who were in the house moved to the hospital. That is when they were taking the deceased. That is corroborated by their statements and their cell phone location places them in the tower that covers the clinic. However, my lord, the robbed phone went to a different direction. And I could not get an explanation as to who was in possession of this cell phone except the intruder, because one could confirm everyone who was in the house at the hospital. In other words, my lord, if there were no intruders, one would not have expected the phone to go to a different direction. It would have remained at the scene or go with the people who were in the house to the same direction.
Just a minute.
Yes. So that was the first piece of evidence, my lord, that I looked at that told me there was a problem. The second one is
if you say that indicated to you there was a problem, what do you mean?
Well, when I said it was a problem, I'm referring to the suggestion that there were no intruders, because it was clear someone was in possession of that phone to a different direction.
Just a minute. Now, cell phone evidence has been placed before this court by Ms. Pinky Fillingham, and I just want to refer you to Exhibit J1.
Yes, my lord.
It's her affidavit.
Miss Pinky Fillingham. Umbiko wakhe ukhona lapha ku exhibit umbukiso JJ1,
and I just wish to draw your attention to page 1188 of her affidavit.
Yes.
Those are extracts of Section 205 pertaining to a specific number.
Lapho kucaphunwe section 205 mayelana nenumber ethize.
Referring to the GPRS stream of that particular number.
Ukusho ukuthi ama message e-GPRS ayephuma kuleyo number.
Can you just place that number on record?
Cela usitshele ukuthi yiphi leyo number?
So the number, my lord, it's 072.
Number 072?
Yeah, it's written small, my lord. Can I use my phone, my lord, just quickly to
Wait. Is it not legible there?
No, it's not, my lord. But I know it's 072. I can see. Then it's 93. I can see the last numbers is 249. If I can, maybe yes.
Okay.
Yeah, nice one. No, it's not legible, my lord. But I can see that the last number is the last three numbers is 249. 249. And it starts with 072. I think it's 93. I don't see what comes after 3, my lord. But then it's 249.
Mr. Badwe, you don't have a copy of that document.
The copy is, will refer you to another exhibit of Lieutenant Colonel Stein. That's exhibit O. It's exhibit O, page 33. Where reference is made to a number. Can you just place that number on record?
Okay.
On page 33 at the bottom.
33 at the bottom. Yeah, but at the bottom, 072, my lord. 9382495.
Is 072 938 2495.
No, I think it's 98, my lord. Sorry, it's 8.
2498.
Yes, 072 938 2498, my lord. That's the number.
Yes. And the name of the person against whom that number appears?
Kelly Kumalo.
So the phone eka Kelly Kumalo.
You earlier mentioned that you were able to establish two of the numbers, and that the one number started with 082, the other one with 072. Are you able to recognize that number?
So the bottom one, my lord, this 072 is the second number that I was able to establish. The 082, I don't see it on page 33, my lord.
Yes.
On page 33 of Colonel Stein's statement.
Yes.
Angikwazi ukuyibona estatementini sika Colonel Stein le speed numbers.
Just at the top, just there where your hand is. Just at the bottom of the page.
At the bottom of the page.
Scott, please, I see it's almost time for the normal short adjournment. Can you adjourn?
Yeah, okay, fine. Let's adjourn for 15 minutes.
Brigadier Gininda, when you adjourned, you were trying to decipher the number that appears on Exhibit J1.
Yes, my lord.
Are you able to read the number now?
Correct, my lord. It's 27. I'll read it as it's contained here. It's 2772938248.
And
Okay. Must I read it? It's 2772938248.
Numbers in number lena 2772938248.
are you able to recognize that number?
Yes, my lord. That is the number that belonged to Miss Kelly Fumana, the one that was reported as being taken by the perpetrators during this incident.
Yebo ngiyazi le number inumber kaKelly Khumalo le ayibikiwe njenge number eyayithathwe yilabo ababehlasela.
You mentioned earlier on in your evidence that this very same number pick up Muleleki Tower. Are you able to find that information on Exhibit J1?
That is correct, my lord. It did pick it up indeed. The time is 21:52, and the date is 26 October 2014, and the tower is 3G Muleleki.
Yebo iyaqhumana ne-tower leno imleleki ngoba isikhathi sika 21:52 okusho ukuthi ke 8 minutes to 10 ya ngomhla 26 ku-October 2014 iyahlangana iyaqhumana le phone ngale nale tower le umluleki i-3G umluleki tower.
And my lord, at this time, this is where the people who were in the house, including Mr. Wethu Channel, were at the clinics. They were picked up by that tower. So he was there. And in addition to that, I know we're still going there. The vehicle tracking system places him there as well, at the clinic.
But ngaleso sikhathi ke le number lena iyabonana ngaleso sikhathi eseclinic ngoba ngaleso sikhathi bonke labo besinde babeseclinic.
Thank you, Brigadier. You said the cell phone information on the robbed phone was one of the factors that informed you that there were intruders. Were there any other factors that informed your view that there were intruders?
Khona yini okunye okuholela ekutheni ucabanga ukuthi babe khona abahlaseli?
That's correct, my lord. So the second thing that I looked at was the DNA, because the DNA.
Okunye ke engakubheka ulibofuzo i-DNA.
Because it was alleged, my lord, or rather it was contained in the statements that the perpetrators left a head, which through the DNA analysis, a mixed DNA was established, was found in that head.
Uthola laba babengenile lapho bashiya isigqoko lapho kuleso sigqoko kwatholakala ulibofuzo olohlukile.
Now, my lord, I checked that DNA that was found in comparison with the DNA of everyone who was inside the house.
Ngahlo zama ke ukukhathanisa lelo libofuzo ebulosesigqokweni nolwabantu ababengaphakathi endlini.
And what I found was that the DNA of everyone who was inside the house was excluded from the DNA found on the head, meaning the donor or the contributor of the DNA on the head was not any of the people who was inside the house.
Ngakuthola ukuthi ulibofuzo lalo orathola esigqokweni luyabakhipha bonke ababekhona endlini.
Yes.
Now that, my lord, was also an indication that someone, because if the DNA is found at the scene and you can exclude everyone who was in the house, there was a donor and we did not know who it was. So that was a second point, which I regard as objective, because it's not a man-made story. It's objective. It's science, my lord.
futhi ke naloko kwangikholele okwesibili okwangikholela ukuthi ngicabanga ukuthi kwakukhona omunye ngaphandle kwalabo ababekhona endlini ngoba lokho akuyona into engayizwa into engayithola engaphikiseki.
Now, if you say look at the DNA profile, how was this information presented? Where was it contained?
It was contained in the report of a captain. I just forgot his name, but he's an analyst, he's an expert who did the examination, my lord. So it's contained in his report.
Manje lokho ke ngakuthola umbiko owenziwa omunye okapteni engasalikhumbula igama lakhe owuchwepheshe.
I just want to show you a document which serves as exhibit X in brackets 11.
Correct,
Are
my
you
lord.
able to recognize this document?
Yes, this is part of the report I'm referring to, my lord. That deals with the DNA comparison of the people who were inside the house by this expert I was referring to.
Yebo lona umbiko oqhathanisa ulibofuzo lalabo bebekhona endlini nolibofuzo ke olutholakala lapha esigqokweni.
And if I can place it on record, my lord, so he documented the name number 1, which is Mthokozi Sithwala, and
Manje ke waveza amagama ke abantu oqesikala ngwele kaMthokozi Sithwala.
and it says the results are that excluded on all samples.
Manje kuyabonakala ukuthi umbiko uthi ukhishiwe kuwo wonke amasampuli.
Kelly Kumalo
Wesibili uKelly Khumalo
excluded on all samples.
uthi naye ke ukhishiwe kuwo wonke amasampuli.
Madlala Tumelo
Utumelo Madlala ulandelayo
excluded on all
naye
samples.
ukhishiwe.
Longo Twala
Ulongwe Thwala
excluded on all
naye
samples.
ukhishiwe kuwo wonke amasampuli.
And then Zandile Kumalo
Futhi kunoSandile Khumalo
included on the smear of Ken, but not on the smear of Ken.
yena ke ulibofuzo lakhe DNA yakhe yatholakala ekanini leSminoff.
Gladness Kumalo
uGladness Khumalo
included on the EF swab and from toilet door handle.
uyena ke uthola ulibofuzo lakhe DNA yakhe etholakala lapha kwihandle noma isibambo lesalapha emnyango.
Yes, that is the essence of it, my lord. So in essence, in the mixed DNA of the head, none of them were red, my lord.
Manje okubonakalayo ukuthi ke kule DNA ehlangene iqhutshiwe ebisesigqokweni akekho kulaba ababaliwe okutholakala ukuthi iDNA yakhe noma ulibofuzo lwakhe liyatholakala lapha esigqokweni.
Yes, you may continue. Any other factor?
Yes, so that was the second factor. Then the third factor, my lord, I've touched base on it, but I'll go deeper into it, was now the vehicle tracking system of Longwe, because I was able to establish, it's contained in one of the affidavit, that he was driving a red Polo, and then I looked at his vehicle movement to see if he went elsewhere. And what I found, my lord, can I get on?
Yebo okunye ke ukuthi ke ngibheke nokuthi imoto kaLongo ethwala yalandelelwa i-tracking system ukuthi ngokuthiwa hamba ngefolo ebovu kuthiwa ayiyona yahamba yaqonda kwenye indawo.
Now from the scene, my lord, after it arrived at the scene, it also moved to the clinics, to the hospital. In other words, when his tower, when his cell phone tower and others were picked up at the clinic, that vehicle was there. It was not, for example, at a place where this robbed cell phone was, the Moleleki Tower.
Manje ke kuyabonakala ukuthi ngesikhathi ke beye ekliniki laba abanye ngaleso sikhathi imoto yakhe yabonakala ukuthi ngaleso sikhathi itholakala nayo isekliniki. Okusho ukuthi ayizange ihambe nale cellphone le eyantshontsha.
Can I carry on?
Yes, I just want to show you the automated vehicle location or the tracker report on a vehicle which currently serves before this court as Exhibit Triple P. And I want you in particular to refer to page 47. At 210409.
Yes, my lord. So at 210409, my lord, the vehicle is picked up at Sam Sikati Avenue, Vosloorus, Gauteng South, South Africa.
Manje ngisikhathi ka 210409 imoto leni ibonakala ikumgwaqo usemsikwati eVosloorus.
And it indicates, my lord, that the ignition was switched off.
Kuyakhombisa ngaleso sikhathi ukuthi imoto yayicinyiwe.
And just place again on record the tracker report is in respect of which vehicle?
It's in respect of a Polo Vivo Volkswagen. That is the vehicle that I know was driven by Mr. Longwetwala, my lord.
Lo mbiko lona unge-Polo Vivo eyi-Volkswagen eyayimoto eshayelwe uLongwetwala.
You earlier in your evidence referred to the fact that the cell phone records of Mr. Longwetwala also places him at the hospital at a particular time?
That is correct, my lord, and they are in line with where the vehicle was.
But yebo nama-cellphone ayakhombisa ukuthi wayesesibhedlela ilapho futhi nemoto yayikhona.
I just want to refer you again to the section 205 extract of a cell phone which has been handed in as Exhibit Triple J1, page 2186.
Correct, my lord, yes, I have it.
At 2105, can you just place the particulars of that cell phone number on record?
Yes, my lord, it's 27 60 080 4043.
Yebo le number i-2760 080 4043.
And then the tower that is being picked up, my lord, is Clinic Vosloorus.
Manje ke itawa ke equnyana nayo iclinic eVosloorus.
And do you remember who was the user of this phone?
It was Longwetwala, my lord.
Wayesebenzisa le phone kwakuLongwetwala.
Yes. Any other factor?
Yes, my lord. So that was that, my lord. Then the other factor that I looked at, my lord, was the eyewitnesses, not the people who were in the house, because there were questions that we were trying to address.
Abanye ke ofakazi ababezibonele ngamehlo angisho laba bebesendlini.
And that now led me, my lord, to the statements that were disposed of the neighbors, the people who were walking on the street.
Lokho ke kwatholakala embikweni ebekwe kusho ukuthi ke statement ezenzwa ababe umakhelwane nababe semgwaqweni.
For example, my lord, I can, without obviously specifically mentioning what is contained in the statement. For example, the Ngashes, who were the next door neighbors, my lord. Ngashes.
So omunye kusho ukuthi ke umbi i-statement sakwaNqashe ababe umakhelwane.
Yes. One of members of the family of Ngashe, Kai Ngashe, has testified as a witness in this matter.
Yes.
Does that name ring a bell?
Yes, it does. It does. He was one of the family members in that the neighbors to the crime scene.
Omunye ke welungu lomndeni wakwaNqashe usezile wayezoletha ubufakazi la enkantolo.
Yes.
And my lord, in their statement, it was clear that they saw people running out, my lord. So there was a clear, if you read the statement, in essence, that people were seen running out during that commotion of the shooting from the crime scene.
Kule nqushu ke ukudubula bathi babona abantu bephuma bebaleka.
Yes, except for the Ngashe family, any other statements of neighbors that you can remember?
Yes, absolutely, my lord. There was one also that I remember, I think two that I came across of, the first name that I remember is Ntabiseng. They were, she's associated with the Department of Correctional Services. They were just sitting opposite the crime scene when this incident happened. And I do recall that in part of that statement, it is clearly mentioned that perpetrators were seen running out of from the direction of the Kelly Kumalo's house to the direction of the park.
Ngiphinda ngikhumbule igama likaNtabiseng okuthiwa uxhumana ne-Department of Correctional Services. Wathi babehleli ke kule ndlu ebhekene nendawo yobugebengu. Estatementini sabo basho ukuthi nabo babona izelelesi ziphuma zibaleka.
It was two witnesses, my lord. There were two. I do remember that it's two females, and both of them witnessed people running out of that house to the direction of the park.
Kwakufakazi ababili besifazane abasho ukuthi babona izelelesi ziphuma zibaleka.
Ms. Ntabise Mokete testified before this court. Does that name ring a bell?
Yes, it does ring a bell, my lord.
Ngiyakhumbula yini igama likaNtabiseng Mokete wathi yebo ngiyakhumbula.
I can further also, my lord, say while I was looking at that, I just don't recall whether it's Ntabiseng or the other lady, the description of the dreadlocks was mentioned by these witnesses, which was in line with the statements that were made by the people who were inside the house, who said one of the perpetrators had dreadlocks.
Manje ke omunye ke ngisho ukuthi ngiyazi ukuthi yilo munye wayeNtabiseng owaveza ukuthi ke omunye walabantu ababebaleka wenama dreadlocks okusho ukuthi lokhu kuhambisana nestatement salabo ababesendini abasho ukuthi omunye waze lezizelelesi waye nama dreadlock.
My lord, I also remember that there was also another statement that I looked at. I think it's one of the neighbors as well, Makaleni or Mekeleni, who also assisted even in the drawing of the identikit of the second suspect that had a hoodie.
Had a
hoodie.
Manje ke kuthiwa ke omunye ke ngisakhumbula ukuthi kulesi statement sakhe wathi wakaMakhaleni wamaKheleni owasiza ke ukuthi kudwetshwe umfanekiso womunye walezi silelisi lesi wayegqoke leli bhantshi elihambisana nesigqoko ihoodie ngesingisi.
Now, my lord, what I established there is that there was no relationship between the end of the people who were in the house with these neighbors, except that they were neighbors, but there was no reasons I could find that these neighbors will actually lie or be influenced to say they saw people running out of the house or running from that direction to the direction of the park for no reason. In other words, I found credence and reliability in that they were telling the truth in terms of what they saw.
Manje ngibona sengathi ke ubufakazi balabo abomakhelwane buyamukeleka ngoba akunabudlelwane obu phakathi kwalabo ababesendlini nalabo fakazi abebe omakhelwane ababethi bona babona izelelesi zibaleka ziye parkini okusho ukuthi ubufakazi babo buyamukeleka.
Just going to show you an identikit which serves as exhibit BB before this court on the screen.
Yes. So the identikit, my lord, that I'm referring to is the one on the left that was drawn by this neighbor or member of the public, my lord, in terms of describing one of the perpetrators that he saw. That is the suspect with the hoodie on the left on the screen.
Manje lapho umfanekiso okhombisa lesisale lelesi esadwetshwa besizwa ilo makhelwane lo ilesi sithombe esingakwesokunxele.
Yes, that's the.
Thank you. Is any other factors?
Yes, my lord. So I then also looked at the first responding officers who attended to this scene, and when I looked at their statements, I also noted that the report they received is that there was a shooting and the perpetrators ran on the direction of the park. Although there was a misunderstanding going to the clinic and back and so forth, my lord, but what was apparently clear that the first reporting that was given to them was the indication that there was a shooting and the perpetrators ran to the direction of the park.
Futhi ke owaqala ngibuke nombiko wamaphoyisa lawo bebekuqala ukuthi baye ukuyobona ukuthi kwenzekani endaweni yesigameko. Owasho ukuthi ke bathi abawuthola ukuthi kwakukhona ukudubula okwenzeka futhi ke nesizilelesi zabaleka ziya ephakini.
Do you remember who these officers are?
My lord, I remember the names Mtetwa and I think Matebula. I remember those two.
Engibakhumbulayo ababili uMthethwa noMathebula.
They've also testified before this court, is it?
That is correct, my lord.
Yebo sebelethe ubufakazi enkantolo na.
Yes, you may continue.
Now, my lord, taking all these facts, that I've mentioned, I could not. I think it would have been a miscarriage of justice to still believe with this fact that no one came into the house. There is no way. So I was convinced that people came into the house, and now the biggest task that was lying ahead was to find these perpetrators, my lord.
Manje ke uma sengibuka konke ke lokhu ngagcina ngifike esinqumeni sokuthi babe khona abantu ababehlasela zazikhona izelelesi ezasingene kulowo muzi ngoba ubufakazi buyakhombisa ukuthi khona abantu ababaleka bephuma endlini.
We'll return to this aspect in a while. If we can just briefly go back to the stage after Brigadier Perimal came on board to oversee the investigation. Were there any meetings convened with interested parties in the matter?
Yes, indeed. Indeed, my lord. Sorry, my lord, if I can just go back, I forgot something that I want to conclude on this part of things that I took into account when I was establishing. I also looked at the statements, obvious of the people who were in the house, my lord, to see as to whether the description that is given is in line with what the members of the public, if I can put it in that context, if it's in line, if what they describe inside, insofar as the perpetrators are concerned, is it in line with what you are seeing outside, And I found that it was in line. There may have been small differences, but in essence, two intruders were described, one with dreadlocks, one with a hoodie, tall, slender. So there were similarities, my lord. That's the aspect that I also considered.
Manje ke ngaphinde ngahlola futhi nokuthi ke istatement zabantu ababesendlini nalencazelo esayithola kubantu abangaphandle ukuthi kuyahambisana na ngasengithola ukuthi yebo lezi ncazelo ziyavumelana nanoma ngabe khona ukwehluka okuncane kodwa kuhambelana ziyahambelana ngoba kukhona ke incazelo ukuthi kwakukhona wayena dreadlocks khona futhi nowayemude ezacile kuyabonakala ukuthi incazelo lezo ziyahambisana.
If you can perhaps once again, if you can refer to Exhibit BB,
yes,
the identikit.
Yes. So and when I say the description, my lord, I'm referring now this sketch, this identikit, my lord, because people were in the house, some of them contributed insofar as the drawing of the identikit of the man with the dreadlocks and added part of the things on the identikit of the man with the hoodie, my lord. So there was that contribution when Warrant Officer Steenkamp threw the identikits.
Warrant Steenkamp zodweba lama identikits la lemfanekiso lena ekhona la phambili kwenkantolo kusho ukuthi ke nalabo bekhona la ngaphakathi endlini nabo baba nomthelela ekuzameni ukusiza ukuthi ke kuphume lemfanekiso le.
Yes, we've already referred to the one with the hoodie.
Yes.
The other identikit.
Yes, this came about as the result of the description given inside the house, my lord. And what is common is the dreadlocks, which was mentioned, as I said, by Tap Singh, for example, that I recall in seeing that in a statement.
Yebo ke lo ogqoke ihoodie lona sesikhulumile ngayo kodwa ke lo omunye ke oma dreadlocks lo mfanekiso lo wenziwe besizwa yilabantu ababesendlini ohambisana ke futhi nobufakazi oba sathola kuNthabiseni.
Yes, thank you. If we can then come to the meeting with stakeholders.
Yes. So after that, my lord, we were then engaged. The Office of the National Commissioner was then engaged by AfriForum. I do remember Advocate Gerinel came on record to say he's got a mandate to represent the family, and he placed a request to meet the investigation team at that time.
Manje ke Office of the National Commissioner ke kushwa ke la tindana nabe AfriForum mayelana nokuphenywa kwaleli cala.
No, AfriForum engaged us, and then AfriForum engaged the National Commissioner.
AfriForum yona yakhulumisana nabe national ne-office lika National Commissioner.
Yes. We were then, my lord, under the excuse me, the command of Brigadier Perumal, directed to go and meet them as per the request.
Manje ke i-office lika Brigadier Perumal lathi ke sihambe sokhulumisana na.
I do not recall the date, my lord, but I know it was around March, April 2020, my lord.
Angisakhumbuli ke ukuthi inyanga kokuyi.
Sorry, beg your pardon. March, April 2019, my lord.
Angisakhumbuli ukuthi inyanga kokuyiphi kokuMarch mhlambe ku-April 2019.
Yes, my lord. So we met them, my lord, and indeed they came on board to say they are representing the family. They simply wanted to place themselves on record.
Manje ke bona ke basitshela ukuthi bona bamela umndeni bafuna nje ukuthi izimvo zabo zizwakala.
And there was an understanding that that will be the go-through lines, the reporting lines, and that is the case up to today.
Wathi ke basitshela ukuthi ibona ke esifanele sibike kubona and isimo sinjalo kufikela namhlanje.
If you say there was an understanding that there will be go-through lines, what do you mean?
So it was a lot was discussed, my lord, but at the end of the day, insofar as giving the feedback to the family and the concerns of the family, there was an understanding that since they are now watching brief, they will be the one talking to us, and we will talk to them, and then they will communicate to the family.
Lokhu kuchaza ukuthi ibona abazokhuluma nomndeni, bona ke bazobheka konke bese bethinta thina uma sefanele kuyobikwa emndenini, sekuyoba yibona abebika emndenini.
Yes.
The issue of the two, should I say, concept, my lord, of whether people came into the house or not, was also raised as a concern to them, from them, and they wanted a clarity.
It's fine, we gave them a briefing.
Right.
What happened further?
All right. Now, subsequent to that, my lord, then we carried on, my lord, in now trying to look now for the perpetrators, for the intruders.
Sabe ke sesi zama ke ukuthola izelelezi las ezazihlasela.
Sorry, was this the only meeting that you, the only briefing that you had with AfriForum?
No, it wasn't the only one. There were few that came after, but immediately after that one, my lord, there was one that I attended on my own, where the National Commission said I must now deal with them as the lead investigator without Brigadier Perumal, because he was taken off as the coordinator.
Kona umhlangano oyesaba nawo kuphela nalabantu ekhona eminye imhlangano khona nomhlangano engaya kuona ngingedwa ngoba wayesephumile uBrigadier Perumal kodwa ngani kwa umlayezo ovela ku National Commissioner ukuthi kufanele mina ngiqhumane nabo njengomseshi.
Yes, and I did engage them a lot, so we exchanged a whole lot of information. We worked well, my lord, up to today.
Yebo sasebenzisana kakhulu nokwabelana ngolwazi nabo ukufikela namhlanje.
Now, at what point did Brigadier Perumal leave the team?
My lord, I think it will be late. I can't put a specific date, but my recollection, my lord, it will be late 2019, maybe December there, because his presence, I can plot him in one meeting that took place on the 13th of November 2019. That is, in essence, the last meeting I think he was involved, where we met Constable Zungu. He was present in that meeting.
Manje ke uPerumal yena kangukuthi wagcina ukusenza nathi ngo December ka 2019 ngoba ngiyakhumbula ukuthi wayekhona emhlanganweni ongomhla ka 13 kuNovember lapho khona sasihlangene no Constable Zungu.
Can you tell the court as to what led to this meeting on the 13th of November 2019 with Constable Zungu?
Yes, indeed, my lord. So earlier in the year, I think around that March, mid or June, it could even be around that time, my lord, I received a call from the National Commissioner saying there is an individual there who had information about the perpetrators who were involved in the murder of Senzo Meyiwa.
Ekuqaleni ke konyaka lapho ngoJune ngathola ke ucingo elivela ku National Commissioner ekuthiwa khona kwakukhona owayethu nomkhondo ngezelelesi ezasihlaseleke kule ndaba ka Senzo Meyiwa.
Which year are you referring to?
I'm referring to 2019, my lord.
Ngikhuluma ngomnyaka 2019.
Yes.
I then proceeded to the office because when this call was made, I was not at the office.
Ngase ngiqhubeka nge-office ngoba mangithola lolu cingo ngangingekho e-office.
And this is where Constable Zungu was then introduced to me for the first time as the person who had this information, my lord.
Mina ngase ngihlangana ke no Constable Zungu okokuqala ngoba kwakuthiwa uyena ke unalo lwazi mayelana nalomkhondo.
And this Constable Zungu is one of the state witnesses who testified in this matter.
That is correct, my lord.
Kana Constable Zungu omunye ofakazi kulolu daba.
Yes.
My lord, yes, after meeting him, he gave me a report that suggested that his father was sort of a direct witness to what he was telling me about. The first reporting of saying, I have information, my father witnessed certain discussion that implicates two individuals, and that is where now the name of accused 1 and 2 came up, but the father was not present.
Manje ke umbiko ngawuthola ukuthi ubaba wakhe wayewufakazi wayeqonde ngqo ukuthiwa ke lapho wakwakhuluma lapho wakwaba nenkulumo lapho ke okwathinteka khona amabili babaso.
Where does this meeting take place with Constable Zungu?
At the office of the National Commissioner, my lord, because when I received the call, I asked that they must keep him there I'm on my way. So we met and discussed this at the office of the National Commissioner.
Lo mhlangano kwawusehhovisi lika National Commission ngoba mangithola ucingo ngabacela ukuthi ke bamgcine khona lapho ngize ngifike ngase ngigijimela khona ehhovisi ngiyohlangana naye.
Yes.
My Lord, I then told him that I would need to speak to the father to obtain a statement with regard to confirmation of what he was telling me.
Ngase ngimtshela ukuthi ngiyazodinga ukuthi ngikhulume nobaba wakhe ukuze ngithole istatement mayelana nalo lwazi.
My Lord, we parted ways with that understanding that he will try to convince his father to come forward so that then the interview and the statement can be obtained. Although he made it clear that it will not be an easy task because it's not how they wanted this thing to be handled, in light of the fact that the people they were mentioning are somehow related to them. So he raised that concern, but I insisted that look, he's a police officer. He should understand we cannot work on hearsay. So I need something tangible. I need to rely on something.
Manje ngase ke ngicela ukuthi ngiyohlangana nobaba wakhe ngase ngicela ukuthi akakhulumisane nobaba wakhe ukuthi akwazi ukuthi ngikwazi ukuthi ngiyothola le statement wase ngeke kube lula ngoba bebengathandisisi ukuthi lolu daba luphathwe ngalendlela ngoba abanye ke balabantu abathintekayo abantu abazihlobo zabo ngase ngiyamtshela ukuthi njengephoyisa uyazwisisa kahle ukuthi indaba yokuthi ke kusetshenziswa amahlebeza ngeke isebenze uyazi ukuthi ngifanele ngithole istatement kulo muntu okunguyena onalolu lwazi.
My Lord, it was also clear that there was a fear of reprisal. In other words, that if this thing is not handled carefully, it was made clear to me that people will lose their lives, so
okunye ke kwakunokwesaba ukuthi indlela ephathwa ngayo lolu daba ingaholela ekutheni mhlambe abanye baze balahlekelwe yimpilo zabo.
We parted ways, my Lord, with that understanding that I will respect and allow him a chance to try and convince his father. We exchanged numbers. I took his number and also established where he was stationed, which was at that stage under the information he gave me under General Lishabane.
Kusho ukuthi ke ngaleso sikhathi ke sahlukana eshilo ukuthi uzoya ayokhulumisana nobaba wakhe sase ke sinikana inamba ngase ke ngifisa ke nokwazi ke nokuthi usebenza kusiphi station ngase ngithola ke nokuthi usenza ngaphansi kumholi wakhe wayeUlishabane ngaleso sikhathi.
Which police station?
It was a cluster, my Lord. So General Shabane was a cluster commander in the North Rand. They call it Northern Tembisa, that area. He was the cluster commander, Major General in charge of that region.
Lishabane kwakuyi cluster commander kusho ukuthi umkhuzi we-cluster ngaphansi kweTembisa eNorth Rand ngoye Major General ngaleso sikhathi.
Yes, he has since retired, my Lord.
Okwamanje usethathe umhlala phansi.
Yes.
Now, after that meeting, my Lord, there would have been a number of obvious follow-up from my side to try and check how far is he, and it was not really, there was no fruitful outcome between that day up to the 13th of November 2019.
Ushuthi ngalandela la ke kaningi ukuzwa ukuthi khona yini intuthuko eyenzekayo kulolu daba esasikhulume ngalo nesicelo sami kodwa ke akubanga na mphumela omuhle ngutholayo kuyofikela umhla ka-30 kuNovember 2019.
Now, leading to 30 November 2019, my Lord, I recall that when I tried to reach him, I was struggling. This is now Constable Zungu. So I ended up, because Brigadier Perumal was still on board, and I said to him, the only lead that I had, which needed to be followed up but still outstanding, is Constable Zungu. So I asked him to accompany me so that we can work together in trying to take the matter forward.
Emva kwaleso sikhathi kwase ngiba ngimzama kaningi ukumthola ngingamtholi ufela ngize ngicela ke uBrigadier Penman ukuthi ngicela ukuthi angisize ukuthi sizama ukuthola indlela esingamthola ngayo ngoba ngangihluleka impela mina umthola mangizama ukumthola wasegcina ke sengihambisana naye ukuthi siyothola uConstable Zungu.
Now arrangements were made eventually, my lord, through General Shabane for the first meeting was supposed to be on the 12th, I recall, of November 2019, which did not materialize. It was then postponed to the 13th, and that's where myself and Brigadier Perumal met Constable Zungu.
Manje-ke kwagcina sekunomhlangano owamhla 13 kuNovember la mina no Brigadier Perumal esahamba siyobona uConstable Zungu.
That meeting was fruitful in that, my lord. He did say he managed to convince his father, and we had now to arrange a next meeting where the father will avail himself.
Manje sathola ukuthi ke ayibe kwaba nomphumela omuhle ngoba uthi wayesekwazile ukuthi ke axoxisane nobaba wakhe okwagcina ukuthi sasesibeka usuku la sizohamba sothola istatement esivela kuyise.
Indeed, my lord, on the 17th of November 2019, the father, Constable Zungu, brought the father, who then gave me a statement, and that statement implicated accused 1 and 2. So those names were now in a sworn affidavit for the first time.
Manje ke sagcina ke sikwazile umhla 17 November ukuthi sihlangane noyise lapho ke khona esathola ke istatement esagcina siholele ekutheni sikhiphe umsolo wokuqala nomsolo wesibili bafakwe kuleli cala.
And what is the name of Constable Zungu's father?
It's Absalom. I remember the name Absalom Zungu, my lord. His affidavit that I obtained was attached and disclosed to the defense, my lord. I think in my trial within trial evidence I also referred to it.
Disikaba baka Constable Zungu kwa Absalom Zungu ngoba i-affidavit yakhe nayo ixhunyiwe kule docket.
Yes. So for the first time then, my lord, now we had 2 possible suspects, and this is where, and I dealt with it, I think also in the trial within trial, the cold case analysis around them, meaning now accused 1 and 2 started.
But njengoba si nabasodo ababili lapho ke saqala khona ke ukuthi siyofunisisa ukuthi bathinteka kanjani.
And that resulted in a number of cases being picked up under accused number 1, which I then took a decision that I'll assign those matters to Sergeant Mohola to investigate those matters, and matters coming out under accused number 2, those matters were then assigned to Sergeant Mohane to say he must look at them while we were focusing on this main case, my lord.
Manje ke kwathi ke kulaba sodo ababili ngacabanga ukuthi ke kukhona amacala amaningi ayevumbuka ngagcina ngiqoke uSergeant Mohula ukuthi ayobheka amacala avumbuka mayelana nomsolo wokuqala kulo wesibili komsolo ngabeka uSergeant Mohane ukuthi akube uyena ohlola lamacala avumbukayo.
Yes, we proceed.
My lord, obviously that led to the events that took place on the 30th of May 2020. That is now when accused 1 was arrested for the Tembisa case 217 of 3/2019.
Yilapho ke waholela ukuthi ke ngomhla 20 kuMay 2020 usolo qala wagcina eboshiwe malana necala izithembisa
Tembisa, yes.
Necala laseThembisa 217 of 3 of 2019.
Can you just maybe explain how did this case docket come to the fore, the Tembisa case 217 3 of 2019?
Yes, my lord. So it came about through the cold case analysis. As I've said, when we had sight on them, we did a profiling, and that profiling under cold case analysis kicked out a number of dockets that were unresolved, basically where they were suspects and the matters were not finalized. So we zoom into that matter, and this Tembisa case 217 of 3/2019 was one of the matters where the warrant of arrest was issued on that matter. But I do know that there were also two matters in forced arrest of attempted murder, and there were warrants there also, my lord. So it was cases that came out due to the profiling of the suspects.
Kukhona ke amakhesi ayesebonakala sengathi awalandeleleki, kodwa ke sathi ke uma sesibheka lama dokethi lamaningi akhipha ke ukuthi khona icala elibonakala ngathi ke liyavela la yilo leli cala case 217 of 2019 elalike liveza ke ukuthi kukhona umkhondo olandelelekayo.
The purpose, really, my lord, also in adopting this strategy was to have them on site, but also try and get things that we didn't have, like DNA, fingerprints that we can compare in this matter. In other words, we deal with them with matters that were already committed or alleged offenses that they've been alleged to have committed, while we look at exhibits or evidence that we can collect from them and deal with it here. And the court would have seen that at some stage DNA were taking and they were comparison and so forth, because we're trying to read them into what we had on the docket.
Manje ke thina ke sase sibheka ke lama case ukuthi kukhona yini singakuthola kubona okukwaziyo ukuthi kubangenise kulamacala, njengoba bese sikhulumile ukuthi kukhona ukuthi iDNA yathathwa esetshenziswa ukuthi kubheke ukuthi iyatholakala yini kulamanye ama case.
Yes, you may proceed.
Yes, my lord. So like I said, I'm not sure should I deal with now the confession, because
Yes, we can now deal with the events of the 30th of May 2020.
Yes. So now fast tracking to that date, my lord, I received a call from Sergeant Mukula to say his accused one has been arrested in relation to that matter.
Ngolo ke ngathola ke umbiko ovela ku Sergeant Mukhola othi ke umsolo qala wayeseboshiwe boshelwe mayelana nalelo cala.
Which matter?
Tembisa case, the drug dealing in drugs under Tembisa case 217 of 3/2019.
Wayecala liziyobisi lase Tembisa 217 of 5/2019.
And I may also add, my lord, that I was also briefed that in the midst of I think the search of him or something around those lines, that there were ammunitions that were found. So in that briefing I was also told that they also found him with unlicensed ammunition.
Futhi ke kuthiwa ke kulolu phenyo babesolenza ngaye nakuboshwa kwakhe kwakutholakala nezinhlamvu zesibhamu ezatholakala kuyena.
Yes. You've already testified in detail during the trial within a trial.
Yes.
As to the events of the 30th of May 2020, but can you maybe just with a broad brush just highlight your evidence regarding the events of the 30th of May 2020?
My lord, what I can then say is that I was informed that they were going to force us to follow up on the other matters against accused one. I then requested them to meet me at the police station so that I can interview him myself with regard to the reporting that I received that he seems to be making some form of admission in relation to this matter before court.
Bathi ke sebembophile ngacela ukuthi abangcine forceladers ngoba ngifuna ukuhlangana naye ngoko kukhona engangibona sengathi kungavela ngoba kwakukhona ngathi kulezinto ayezamukele zaziveza ukuthi uyathinteka kuleli cala.
My lord,
who reported to you that he was making admissions?
It's Sergeant Mukhola.
Usergeant Mukhola wangitshela lokho.
Yes.
My Lord, after meeting him, obviously one embarked on the formalities in terms of the constitutional rights and so forth. It was clear that indeed he was willing freely, without any duress, to make confession, and subsequent to that, Colonel Mboto was then arranged to assist with the taking down of the confession.
wakhombisa ukuthi uzimisele ukusebenzisana nathi ukwaholela ekutheni uKenel Mboto azothatha istatement sakhe ngoba ekhombisa ukuthi uyafisa ukukhipha istatement engaphoqelelekile.
And that he was in his clear and sober senses, my Lord. According to my observations, that's what I saw, and he also told me that he didn't take any intoxicating substances.
Yakhombisa ukuthi wayengazange athathe lutho olungamenza ukuthi mhlambe liyobise isimo sakhe futhi ke wayengaphuzile lutho ngaleso sikhathi.
Yes.
My Lord,
Before you arrange with Lieutenant Colonel Mboto, you mentioned that you want him according to his constitutional rights.
that's correct, my Lord. Yes, I did.
Yebo ngamtshela ngamalungelo akhe.
Now, what came up in your discussions with him? And where did this discussion take place?
At Phosphorus, he was in a car, my Lord, the red Golf, the police cars. So that's where I spoke.
Wayesemotweni ebomvu yesiphoyisa iGolf ngalesi sikhathi ngimtshela ngamalungelo akhe.
And what time was it?
My Lord, it was after 1900 hours.
Kwakungemuva kwehora lika 7 lantambama.
Yes. And in the trial, within the trial, you explain in detail what constitutional rights you explain to accused number one.
It is correct, my Lord.
Athi yebo amalungelo akhe watshelwa ngesikhathi kukhulunywa ngokuqulwa kwecala ngaphakathi kokuqulwa kweleyi.
Did you introduce yourself?
Yes. So
Yebo ngazethula.
So first I was introduced when by the member Sergeant Mohola, and then I introduced myself for my after that.
Ngaqala ngethulwa uSergeant Mohola ngase nami ngiyaphinda ngiyazethula.
As you introduce yourself as
a police officer, my Lord, by showing him my identity card in terms of my rank and who I am, and where I'm stationed, my Lord.
Mina ngazethula ngokumkhombisa iID card yami esesiphoyiseni, ngizethula njengephoyisa, ngase ke ngimtshela ke nerank yami, ngase ngimtshela futhi nokuthi ke ngisebenza kusiphi stage.
yes.
Yes, my Lord. So then that led now obviously to the discussion and subsequently Colonel Mboto being arranged for the confession, my Lord.
Yiloko ke kwaholela ekutheni sixoxisane nokuthi ke kuze kulungiswe noKolonel Mboto ukuze azothatha istatement.
Can you maybe elaborate more on the discussion? What came up in the discussions?
Well, what came out in the discussion, my Lord, prior to now Colonel Mboto coming on board, is that he was implicating himself as being being at the crime scene, but excluding himself as being the perpetrator. I remember his response to say, I was there, but I'm not the shooter, I'm not the one who killed Senzo.
Kusho ukuthi lokwenzeka engakangeniswa uKolonel Mboto lapho ila ekhona oyakhombisa ukuthi yena wayeqaphelele kulelo cala lapho ke ayavuma khona ukuthi yebo wayekhona endaweni yobugebengu kodwa akuyena owadubula.
But perhaps to put it in the right context or sequence, my Lord, one can say before we came to that, it is when, because I warned him twice with the rights, my Lord. First I warned him just after I was introduced. Then I asked the members to excuse me, to establish that he can speak to me freely and voluntarily if he was not threatened in any way. Then I warned him, and as I was warning him, I was establishing responses now, the second time. in terms of the lawyer, what does he want to do? Does he want to speak to me? When I got affirmative that he is willing to freely and speak to me voluntarily, my lord, and he understood the consequences of making confession if he makes such, I then put it to him that I have a reason to believe that he was involved in the killing of Senzo Meyiwa. And the response I referred to came in that context to say, yes, I was involved, but I'm not the shooter. And he mentioned the names of Marco as the shooter, and I think Makimbi as one of the people who were there.
Lapho-ke ngamtshela kabili, ngamexwayisa kabili ngamalungelo akhe, ila engafuneka khona ukuthi azwisise kahle ukuthi-ke ufanele akhulume ekhululekile, ila ngemtshela khona ngendaba ukuthi uma edinga ummeli angamthola. Ila futhi ngambuza kwesibili ukuze ngibhale phansi ukuthi utheni uma ephendula mayelana nendaba yamalungelo, futhi-ke ngamchazela-ke nokuthi kwenzekani emva kokuthi-ke akhiphe istatement esinjena. Ila efugcine khona engitshela ukuthi yebo wayekhona ekubulalweni kukaSenzo Meyiwa, kodwa akuyena wadubula, futhi-ke wayesechaza ukuthi omunye wayekhona kokuwuMarco.
My lord, I seem to recall, he referred to Marco and Makimbi Buthelezi. I remember, I seem to recall that names and the surnames being given by him, my lord.
Engikhumbulayo wakhuluma ngelesi gama likaMarco noMakimbi Buthelezi.
I further recall, my lord, that when I established from him as to whether was there anyone that they informed or if anyone knows about what he did, he then said the only person they spoke to was a traditional healer. I think he called him Umkulu, who stays in Pambridge, but it was clear that he doesn't know the address, but he said he is willing to identify the place where this traditional healer is situated.
Ngambuza ukuthi khona yini omunye owaziyo ngalokho, asethi cha, uma khuluma naye omunye-ke owayinyanga, le nyanga lena owayebiza ngokuthi umkhulu, and futhi le nyanga yayihlala ePhambridge, nanoma engazi-ke ukuthi ikhelela la ihlala khona le nyanga iliphi, kodwa wavumela ukuthi angasebenzisa nathi ukuze itholakale le nyanga.
I further recall, my lord, that he said also the crime scene, he doesn't know the physical address, but he can identify it, and he was willing freely and voluntarily to identify such a place.
Futhi ngendawo yobugebengu wathi akalazi ikheli layo leyo ndawo, kodwa wayezimisele ukuthi angayisikhombisa le ndawo ukuthi ilaphi ekhululekile futhi engaphoqeleleki.
There was also a willingness freely, my lord, without any undue influence for him to make a statement to an independent officer freely and voluntarily, and that led to the confession now that was taken by Colonel Mboto.
And futhi wavuma nokuthi angasibhalisa istatement ekhululekile engaphoqelelekile, ilokho kwaholela ekutheni-ke kusetshenziswe uColonel Mboto ukuthi-ke athathe lesi statement.
And I can confirm, my lord, that when I received back the statement, obviously I'm just going ahead, I may have to go back. When I received the said confession document from Colonel Mboto in a day or two, I noted that what he told me was contained in that statement, maybe with more details, more than he told me, but the essence of what he told me was included in that statement.
Manje mase ngithola-ke emva kwey'nsuku ey'mbili i-statement esasibhalwe uColonel Mboto, ngabona ukuthi lo ayengitshele kona kuyafana naloko ayekubhalise estatementini seke, kodwa-ke wathi ukwenaba kancane kuloko ayekubhale estatementini.
Yes. In the trial within trial, you've already referred to this statement that was made to Lieutenant Mboto, which served as Exhibit FF before this court.
Correct, my lord, I did refer to it.
But sikhulumile ngalesi statement sikaMboto esifakwe njengo FF umbukiso la enkantolo.
Yes, you may proceed.
So after the confession was taken, my lord, he was brought back to me because I was in at the provincial office, and I established that he was still okay, which was in affirmative. I further asked him if he was willing to identify the place where this traditional healer could be found, and he said yes, he was willing to do that. I then
Just a minute.
Oh, my apologies.
So ke emva kwalokho ke emva kokuthi ke lamkelile esevumile icala wathathwa ke ngaleso sikhathi ngengise lase provincial officer la futhi owasho khona ukuthi usazimisele ngokuthi ayasikhombisa la ehlala khona lenyanga ayikhulume ngayo.
More or less, what time was it?
It was after midnight, my lord.
Kwakungemumva ke kuka 12 wasebusuku.
So I'll say between 12 midnight and 1, because by 1 a.m. we had parted ways, but it was between those times, my lord.
Kwakuphakathi ka 12 no 1 ngoba ngiyazi ukuthi ngo 1 sahlukana.
Yes.
My lord, when he said yes, he was willing to do that, I then referred him to Sergeant Mohola to say she will come and follow up, that information, and that should he change his mind or require any assistance, be it legal at his expense or state expense, in terms of the rights that I've given him, he should feel free to do so, and we parted ways.
So ngathi kumesethe yebo angasisiza ngaloko ngase emdlulisela ke ku Sergeant Mohola engathi uyena ke ozobheka lokho nokuthi ke uma kuukuthi ke ukhona ke abona sengathi ke angeke safisa ukuqhubeka ngayo mhlambe esefuna ke ungamsiza mayelana nomthetho uvunyela ukuthi ke akhululeke asitshele ngalokho.
Now, my lord, on the early evening of the 31st of May 2019, because these discussions started leading to the confession on the 30th, and we parted ways on the early hours of the 31st, just after midnight. Then on the 31st of May 2020, in the early evenings, then I was phoned by Sergeant Mohola to say they found the traditional healer, and we arranged to meet at the provincial office that I was using.
Sergeant Mohola wasengitshela ngomhla 35 1 kuMeyi ukuthi sebagcina imtholile lo lenyanga leyo ekhulunywa ngayo ukuthi izimiselo ukuthi singeze sizohlangana provincial office.
Just a minute. And where was the provincial office?
It was in Eraton, my lord. It was the provincial office of the detectives.
Office ke la baseshi lalise Eraton, office lesifunda.
It's still there, still situated there.
Lisekhona lapho namanje.
Yes.
So I then went to the provincial office, my lord, and I was introduced to Mr. Zwane, Lionel Zwane, who was then the alleged traditional healer who would have cleansed.
Just take it one step at a time.
Lapha ke office lesifunda ila engahlanganiswa khona ke noZwane okwakuthiwa uyena ke oyinyanga yesintu.
Yes, who introduced you to Mr. Zwane?
It was the members, Sergeant Mohola, I think I remember Sergeant Mohola introduced me to him, and I also introduced myself. That's the routine, my lord. And I warned him according to his rights, because I was sitting with certain information that implicates him in having a knowledge about the matter before this court.
Ngethula lapho uSergeant kwakune Sergeant Mohola lapho ngicela ukuthi yena wangethula lapho kodwa nami ngazethula ngase ngimtshela ke ngamalungelo akhe ngoba kwakukhona ke okunye ke okwakum ulwazi enginalo olwalumfaka kulolu daba.
And Mr. Zwane has also testified before this court, is that correct?
That's correct, Lionel Zwane, my lord.
Manje ke lo baba Zwane uLionel Zwane naye weza wazoba ufakazi kule nkantolo.
Yes, we proceed.
Now, my lord, while I was interacting with him, I do recall that the SWAT team that was assisting with the escort of members then came in that office with accused number 1. They walked in, unplanned.
Manje ke siselapho ke iSWAT team eyayisiza ke ngokuphelezela yangena nomsolo wokuqala ingena nje singayilindele.
Now, and accused 1, my lord, I recall that he was leg ironed and he was cuffed in front as well, my lord.
Angikhumbulayo futhi ukuthi umsolo wokuqala wayefake ozankosi futhi efakwe nezintsimbi zasemlenzeni.
Yes, so the handcuff could have been in front of back, but I know that he was cuffed, my lord, but and leg irons.
Engikhumbulayo ukuthi wayefakwe ozankosi ngisakhumbula ukuthi bayengaphambili noma ngemuva kodwa engikhumbula impela ukuthi wayefakwe ozankosi efakwe nezintsimbi zasemlenzeni.
Now when he walked in, my lord, Mr. Zwane, they looked at each other and I recall Mr. Zwane saying, he said it in Zulu, my lord, I'll try to translate in English, but in Zulu he said, how mfana kaSibiya waboshwa kangaka kwenze njani? That was his statement.
I remember that they looked at each other. Ngiyakhumbula ukuthi babhekana besabhekene wayesethi ke lenyanga esithi hawu mfana kaSibiya uboshwa kanjena kwenze njani?
Maybe I will not be able to translate it verbatim or not, but in essence he was shocked, to say, why is he cuffed in this manner? That is the essence of what saying, to say you are arrested, but why in this fashion?
Engikubonayo nje ukuthi wayethuswa yilendlela njengoba ethi umfana kaSibiya waboshwa kangaka kusho ukuthi wayethuswa yilendlela ayeboshwe ngayo.
The response, my lord, from accused 1 was to the extent, insofar as I can recall, that it is that matter we came to cleanse for the killing of Senzo Meyiwa.
Wase ngikhumbula ukuthi wathi le yandaba esasiza sizoyihlela indaba ikaSenzo Meyiwa.
So, now approach accused number 1 before we...
Yeah, fine.
Thank you.
Similar to, in any case, just before the long adjournment, maybe we can take the long adjournment at this point.
Okay, 2 o'clock then, eh?